Now you see where that chain go. Chain gang off that mainframe for my main thing like Django. Bow the nigga like Shango. Old school with that cane go. Right hand on my buckle, bitch. Left hand, hang low. Whip part, but it swang though. Do you know what that 6P do? Just fly up like a fool in the truck and you lanes can't figure how the pain bleed through. Wave on the track like a 6C do. Chip look mean and the drip see through.
Greetings, fight fans.
It is DMVCS in the Clinch.
And the Clinch.
Each and every Sunday night here on WLVS Radio, here on ListenVisionLive.com. Sundays, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You know how we do. Of course, you know me. It's Lesson to my right, the man to be in the place to be, as always. Manny Z to my right. We are here, and we want to thank you guys for taking a little bit of time out of your Sunday evening, for spending it with us as always. We got a jam-packed show for you guys. It was a jam-packed weekend in the world of mixed martial arts, Manny. And
2 consecutive weeks.
Yeah. So what we're going to have now, and the last 2 weeks been dynamite weeks. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well as we go along. But we're going to talk about UFC 180, Werdum versus Hunt for the interim heavyweight championship in the UFC. We are also going to recap Bellator 131. This is their finale this year, Manny. Bellator going out with a bang.
Yeah, I still got to get used to, MMA promotions having a finale.
Yeah, a finale for this year in November, by the way.
Exactly.
In November.
In November, yeah.
And then we're going to also talk about World Series of Fighting 15 and recap, of course, all the MMA news, rumors, and event recaps and the big news out of the UFC and Bellator. As always, we want to make sure you guys are following us on Twitter, at DMVCS on Twitter, at DMVCS2 on Instagram, also on Facebook, DMVCS Radio. And make sure you're checking us out on DMV Combat Systems on Google Plus and YouTube. Got all of our shows on there for you guys to check out some of our past shows when we had on there, Manny. But we got a jam-packed show. 3 big events this weekend. And, of course, we got to get right to it. And, of course, we always start with the news. So after it was delayed because of some legal problems involved and a lot of jostling in the light heavyweight division, seems like Alexander Gustafsson and Anthony Rumble Johnson.
It was not meant to be.
Are going to actually they're going to meet now, and the fight is back on. They will now meet at UFC on Fox 14, which will be in Sweden. That will take place on January 24th at the Tele2 Arena in Stockholm. Main card will be on Fox, and the prelims will be on Fox Sports 1. Now, to accommodate the usual UFC on Fox main card, starts at 8 o'clock. The Tele2 Arena hosts the first international edition of the UFC on Fox and can seat approximately 30,000 fans. And will serve as just the second UFC stadium to date. The first, UFC 129, drew 55,000 in Toronto's Rogers Center in 2011. Now, Gustafsson is ranked number 2 in the USA Today's MMA light heavyweight rankings, and Johnson is number 5. Now, Gustafsson recently rebounded from a title loss to John Jones. He had a second-round TKO win over Jimmy Manua in March. The 27-year-old Swede picked up Fight of the Night and Performance of the Night bonuses with the win, moved him to 7-1 over his past 8 fights. The one loss, of course, being to John Bones Jones. It also marks his 13th stoppage and 16 career wins. Meanwhile, Johnson is returning to competition after overcoming some legal troubles. He's being reinstated by the UFC. Rumble, who is 30 years old, has settled in the 205 division after fighting as a welterweight, heavy as a heavyweight, and then most recently fought at July of the UFC on Fox 12, where he knocked out Little Nog Antonio Rogerio Nogueira
33 seconds.
In 33 seconds to earn his second consecutive win since he came back to the octagon. Now, the Gustafsson-Johnson winner will more than likely face the winner between John Jones and Daniel Cormier, which, of course, is on UFC 182 on January 3rd. Also reported earlier by MMA Junkie, welterweights Matt Brown and Tarek Safiuddin will also expected to fight at UFC on Fox 14. So a bout that we thought was going to happen a little bit earlier before Rumble got into his legal problems, and now it's been cleared and reinstated, is going to happen now back in Stockholm.
Well, yeah, because this is what the fans were clamoring for, because we have to have a title eliminator in the very heavily, very stacked light heavyweight division.
Absolutely, and with two guys like Gus and Rumble, it should be a very entertaining fight, and it should be interesting to see this event in Sweden. Now will be the first international one for the UFC on Fox series. Now will be the 14th edition, also having a pretty good fight on the undercard with Matt Brown and Safiuddin. So we'll be keeping our eyes peeled for that one.
Yes.
Also, it looks like Jakari Souza is going to be back in the octagon facing Yoel Romero at UFC 184. Yoel Romero set to meet Souza at 184. They announced the new bout on Thursday, saying that the verbal agreements are in place. Now, featuring a pair of championship matchups that will have, of course, UFC middleweight champ Chris Weidman facing Vitor Belfort, and UFC women's bantamweight title holder Ronda Rousey fighting Kat Zingano. UFC 184 will be at the Staples Center on February 28th. The evening's main card airs on pay-per-view. Now, Romero will put his unbeaten UFC record on the line. He's 3-0 right now in 2014 with 2 Fight of the Night wins. In January, he stopped Derek Brunson in the 3rd round for a big comeback with his first bonus of the year. Then after a division over Brad Tavares in April, he stopped Tim Kennedy in the 3rd round of UFC 178.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't know about that stoppage.
Now, of course, the win over Kennedy was controversial. He was saved by the bell in the 2nd round, wobbled back to his corner. The 3rd round started. He didn't get up from his stool, and there was confusion. Gave him a little bit of extra time, but just 8 seconds into the 3rd, he stopped Kennedy with a TKO. Now, Jacare has won 7 straight fights since losing his first Strikeforce middleweight title to Luke Rockhold a little more than 3 years ago. 6 of those 7 wins are by stoppage. Since coming to the UFC in the merger with Strikeforce, he has a submission of the night win over Chris Carmozzi, a TKO of Yushin Okami, who's now in a World Series of Fights, and a decision win over Francis Carmon in September, and a Fight of the Night submission over Gegard Mousasi. Now, Jacare sits number 5 of the USA Today middleweight rankings, while Romero is number 10. He's also honorable mention in the current pound-for-pound rankings. With the addition to the card, we now have Chris Weidman against Belfort, Rousey versus Ngannou, Romero versus Souza, and just announced this week, Manny, Frank Mir against Bigfoot Silva, in what couldn't be more the irrelevant matchup of heavyweights that we've seen so far this year.
Well, I can't say it's irrelevant because I'm pretty sure, well, I know the younger fans don't know who Frank Mir is, but it's just now at 35 years old, him trying to make his meteoric comeback to the title, it's just, I don't see it.
Yeah. And additional news out of matchups announced this week, a middleweight matchup between Rafael Natal and Englishman Tom Watson will be added to January's UFC 183 lineup. UFC officials today announced a new booking this week, featuring it will be, now that of course is going to be on the undercard of Anderson Silva Nick Diaz, take place January 31st at Las Vegas MGM Grand Garden Arena. Now, while the official bout order for the night is yet to be revealed, Natal and Watson is expected to be part of the night's prelim card. Natal fought most recently, Manny, in September, earning a hard-fought and razor-thin split decision victory over Chris Carmozzi. The contest was a must-win for Sapo, as he's called, who had dropped the previous bouts against Ed Herman and Tim Kennedy. Meanwhile, Watson returns to action for the first time since the August decision over Sam Alvey. The victory was much needed for Kong after he dropped 2 decisions in bouts against Nick Cantone and Thales Lietes. Now, in addition to the 183 card, now looks like this: Diaz versus Silva, Thiago Alves versus Jordan Mine, Sarah McMahon against Miesha Tate, which was also announced this week as well. Tim Boetsch versus Ty Lietis, and then also Natal versus Tom Watson. So that card is starting to take shape now for UFC 183 with the return of the Spider to the octagon to take on the ever-popular and also talkative Nick Diaz.
I would have to rectify that for our listeners out there. Nick Diaz is popular how? I mean, this is the same guy that spent almost a year and a half calling out GSP. I want you to give it to me, GSP, and he did. Yeah, he did. He gave it to him. He did give it to him. So, since we're on the topic of fighters that need to hang it up, despite the fact of what he's done in his mixed martial arts career, Hendo is going to be making a return to the octagon. He will return to now at middleweight at 185. He will face Gegard Mousasi at the UFC on Fox and on Fox in 14. That will be on the undercard of the Rumble Gustafsson matchup. Now that will take place on January 24th. Now Mousasi is ranked number 8 in the USA Today middleweight rankings. Hendo is ranked number 9 at light heavyweight. He is moving down to middleweight, down to 185. Now Hendo looks to snap a skid where he's on 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Had a submission loss to Daniel Cormier at UFC 173. Prior to that, he bounced between 3 weight classes during his 17-year careers.
He ordered a 3-fight losing skid against that included people like Lyoto Machida and Vitor Belfort. Had a TKO win over Mauricio Shogun Hua, who also got knocked out last week by Ovin St. Preux, OSP. That was fight of the night and performance of the night bonuses for Hendo. So a fat paycheck for that one. Now, meanwhile, Henderson did say he would have been open with a bout with Jakari Souza. Instead, he meets Musasi, 29-year-old, who suffered a loss to Jakari in September. Prior to the defeat, he was on a 7-1-1 run that had a performance of the night win over Mark Munoz and a fight of the night loss to Lyoto Machida. Now, the UFC on Fox 14 card, that will be on there. Of course, we announced Matt Brown and Safiuddin will be on that card as well. But Hendo coming back, moving down to middleweight. The juggling of weight classes begins again for Hendo now, though he's 43 years old.
Again, I don't mean to Mel Kiper Jr. you in the studio about this, but it just, again, with Hendo, I'm like, you'll be 46 years old next year.
Yeah.
46.
Yeah.
Like, we've had the discussion before the program. Pride was a long time ago. Wasn't yesterday.
Strikeforce was a long time ago,
Well, I mean, I can't really say that because Strikeforce, I mean, they had their small comeuppance because, CBS Sports and Showtime.
Yeah.
Until, the UFC just wiped them out. But
it seems like that knockout of Fedor was ages ago now.
Yeah, but the thing is not. That was the key thing. But, I mean, Fedor, again, was once again not in his prime because before that fight, he got finished by Fabricio Werdum, who's now our interim UFC heavyweight champion. And we're going to talk about that later on in the show. Those two, like we said, destroyed the myth of Fedor Emelianenko and Strikeforce. But we'll see what happens with Hendo. He's one of the all-time greats. He's definitely an MMA Hall of Famer. Wherever he goes, and one of the guys. I don't disagree with that. But
not at all.
It's time.
Yeah, not at all. It is time. It is time. So, talking about mouthpieces, seems like the biggest mouthpiece of sports in the world has now hired the biggest mouthpiece in mixed martial arts. Who am I talking about? Oh, the four-letter network in Bristol, Connecticut. ESPN has now hired Chael Sonnen as an MMA analyst today, and that was a report from the AP. According to ESPN, they said Sonnen has signed a multi-fight agreement as a studio and on-site analyst, providing expert pre- and post-fight insight and SportsCenter's coverage for major UFC pay-per-view events. He debuts Friday. He actually debuted Friday on the eve of UFC 180 throughout the weekend, and actually saw some of it or some of the stuff that he did. It was very good. I mean, the one thing about Chael that I have to say, in his short time with the UFC, when he was doing UFC Tonight and doing the pre-shows and the post-shows he was very good on television. Because the one thing the guy knows he knows how to talk.
Yeah, he does.
He knows how to talk, and regardless of what he did in his career, the UFC, him being one of the biggest hype men for the sport, and really not really delivering on any big fight, but the guy knows mixed martial arts.
Yeah,
that's one thing he does know. And the biggest sports platform that you could have on ESPN, it's going to be a gig that he'll do well in. Now,
I would agree with that.
Now, this is what Chael had to say about it. He said in a statement, an announcement, he said the industry leader in sports and ESPN have finally joined forces.
What?
You're welcome. Wait, these mics hot? The biggest thing that happened to ESPN since, well, nothing really comes close. In all seriousness, to ESPN, to Disney, to the Hearst Corporation, and to the viewers, you're welcome. From one industry leader to another, I look forward to the opportunity of bringing my stories, insight, and unique perspective of mixed martial arts to the network. And you know what? Knowing Chael Sonnen, I would have expected nothing less from him to say something like this.
Absolutely not. I mean, again, not only one of the biggest trash talkers the sport had ever seen, but one of the biggest self-promoters.
Absolutely.
Walking God's great.
Absolutely. Now, Chael Sonnen was actually still in the UFC as of a couple of months ago. He was fired from his Fox Sports UFC Tonight co-hosting gig and subsequently announced his retirement following a pair of failed UFC 175 drug tests earlier this year. At a July hearing with the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Sonnen received a 2-year suspension for the failed test. He admitted his guilt and said he would agree with the commission's punishment, which included paying the cost and analysis of drug tests that ensnared him, agreeing not to fight in any other jurisdiction for his 2-year term, and acting as an educator to both the commission and fellow fighters on the issue of performance-enhancing drugs. Now, Sonnen was flagged for a total of 5 PEDs prior to his scheduled fight with Vitor Belfort at UFC 175.
Only 5, huh?
Too many of them for me to name right now. Publicly retired. And then
we already know HGH because that was the same one that Sammy Sosa and Alex Rodriguez has been taking, the human growth hormone.
Yeah, human growth hormone and estradiol, clomiphene, human chorionic gonadotropin, HCG. He also took recombinant human erythroprotein. So he also said on his launch podcast named You're Welcome with Chad Sonnen, he says, I'm not going to apologize because I'm not sorry. At least he's honest. He said, I'm a consenting adult. I knew exactly what I was doing. This was a premeditated decision. If I go jump in my car and I back up and hit my neighbor's garbage cans, I'm sorry for that. This was a calculated decision. I made the decision and I'll live with it. That's it. I wouldn't make any excuses about it. So he may be the first person to actually say that he wasn't sorry about taking performance enhancing drugs.
Well, that's the one thing I commended him about the whole ordeal because, with Chael was, he had to face the music. He had to do the punishment to fit the crime.
Yeah.
But he didn't run out the back door.
Yeah. Now, and
no pun intended.
Wanderlei Silva ran out the back door.
I mean, we're still looking for him. I mean, fight fans out there, if you have seen Wanderlei Silva in your neighborhood, please call the studio at this instant.
Well, Wanderlei Silva actually popped up at the pre-events for Bellator 131, and he thought he was going to be involved with the promotion. But
he's under contract with Zuffa LLC in the UFC.
Exactly, and that's the reason why he was pulled from everything earlier this week as well.
Yeah.
So that's that. So Chael will be on ESPN. Be prepared to see the biggest self-promoter on but definitely a knowledgeable mind that will be great for ESPN and their coverage for mixed martial arts.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let Skip Bayless keep his job.
Yeah.
So, I don't understand how that happens. But
So Tatiki Matsuda and Joby Sanchez will be on the card for UFC Fight Night 59. The bout, which the BostonHerald.com first reported, it will be contested at flyweight. UFC Fight Night 59 takes place January 18th at the Boston TD Garden. It's not clear whether Matsuda or Sanchez will be placed, where they will be placed on the lineup. Now, Matsuda, 28 years old, Japanese fighter, living and fighting out of Massachusetts, recently took a late notice opportunity to fight in the UFC, suffered a decision loss to bantamweight Chris Beal in September. The fighter, who had been competing on the East Coast with organizations such as CES MMA and VCS, now heads to 125 pounds. He meets Sanchez, former XFC and Tachi Palace Fights competitor who opened his career with a 6-0 mark. The 23-year-old Team Jackson Winklejohn fighter then signed with the UFC, suffered a decision loss to Wilson Reyes in his promotional debut. Now, this is a big card for UFC Fight 59, especially because of all the Irish fighters that are involved in this card. Of course, the headliner Conor McGregor versus Dennis Siver, Eddie Alvarez versus Benson Henderson, Jorge Masvidal versus Norman Park, Uriah Hall versus Costa Philippou, and then also a John Howard versus Lorenz Larkin fight along with Matsuda and Sanchez. So this fight card on the 18th of January, big because of all the Irish fighters that they're having here. And that's going to be a very, very large Irish community in Boston. So it will be huge for the promotion to be able to get a big turnout at the TD Garden.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, because, again, we're talking about when the biggest Irish phenomenon going on in the sport right now in Conor McGregor. I mean, has he lost a fight yet?
He has not lost a fight, and the thing is, being in the UFC, and he is definitely top 5 of my biggest trash talkers in all of mixed martial arts. That guy gives no fucks when he runs his mouth.
I mean,
no fucks when he runs his mouth.
I'm still searching eBay and Craigslist for the amount of fucks this guy gives.
I mean, he told Chad Mendes he would make him shit himself. I mean,
yeah,
the crazy. Last news item, it looks like Gian Vellante is now out of his bout for UFC 181 against the Ultimate Fighter winner Corey Anderson. He's been forced out of his fight against saying that it says that the condition of anonymity, because they did not, the source to MMA Junkie did not have the authorization to speak about it. Now, Vellante got back on track when he took a split decision from Sean O'Connell in New Zealand. He's alternated wins and losses since coming back to the UFC from Strikeforce, where he had a 3-fight winning streak. He's looking for his first streak since then, more than 2 years ago, but that gets put on hold. Now, Anderson stopped Matt Van Buren in 61 seconds in the first round to win TUF 19 in Las Vegas. Anderson's the Illinois native who has also fought at heavyweight since turning pro in 2013. Was the first pick by Coach Frankie Edgar on the show for his light heavyweight squad. He's picked up a pair of decisions to reach the final against Van Buren. So UFC 181 now looks like this, Manny. The rematch between Johnny Hendricks and Robbie Lawler.
And I can't wait.
Lightweight title bout between Anthony Showtime Pettis and Gil Melendez. Travis Brown versus Brendan Schaub. Holly Holm and Raquel Pennington's actually been put off now because Holly Holm suffered a neck injury in her training.
She got hurt.
And now Tony Ferguson versus Abel Trujillo. And on the preliminary card will be Uriah Faber taking on Francisco Rivera.
Why is Uriah on
this is like the second card I've seen him now in a row.
I'm like, I'm like, this guy is a former WEC champion, and I mean, just who else in his division besides, of course, Dominic Cruz. do he have to beat in order to be on the main card?
Yep, and it's something else, man.
Yeah, his training partner is the bantamweight champion, but we're just gonna brush that off.
Yeah. So that's our news for today, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we're going to talk UFC 180. Werdum versus Hunt. We're going to break down the card for you right here. Got some great highlights for you. Of course, make sure you're following us on Twitter, DMVCS at DMVCS on Twitter, DMVCS2 on Instagram, the number 2 on Instagram, DMVCS Radio on Facebook. It's Lesson, Manny Z, and the place to be. It was DMVCS in the Clinch. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
Oh no, oh no. Slashin', yeah. I decided to take a approach here. Yo, but I ain't even know when I ain't first. Yo, get him, dog.
Bruh, I'm a damn soldier. What you say to me is not interesting, so I'll move you to the spam folder. My clan's bolder, y'all rappers can't flow without your ghostwriter raps. As far as skills, few hands colder. Plan to hit you with the Batman, you understand, Joker? I come to kill these animals. I'm a damn poacher on mics. You never been playing, forever you fame. Forever I'm ahead of the game. I never complain, I never took aim at lames who planes astray. Unless they come directly up in my shit, they get waved. I'm in the barber phase, sit on my throne, you'll get a fade. Afterwards, I'm sitting while sipping on a glass of lemonade. This is my turf, I mean of course the music scene. By the way, I never gave a damn about your stupid jeans. To hell with the brand name and your champagne. Whack rappers giving MCs like us a bad name.
We on that old school 1-2 shit. We on that true tip hip hop music. Just let your head nod, hands up, lose it, top back, cruising, fill it with your cruise shit. Where's my volume? Where's my volume? Where's my volume? Pumping out my boom, where's my volume? Where's my volume? Where's my volume? Don't forget my boom. Now this is B-boy sparking, boombox marching, supernova blasting, attack of the Martians. Peace set the tone, now it's lesson with the arching. Bow and arrow marksman, target set marking. Game in the crosshairs, no dropping it down. Mic sign showing the end, cause it's apocalypse now. Thinking you niggas is fixing it, but your lyrics ridiculous. Ripping these flipping pitches, indifferent and inconspicuous. Lesson in passage, you fucking bastards. His name, he's at the passage. Niggas, they couldn't pass it. Faster and faster, like dumping traffic. We attack with lethal flows, you haters just couldn't fathom. Paper or plastic, the game wrapped it. And y'all fools just talking blasted. Rash records is ratchet. Get drastic, then we blast in. Usual suspects, that's lesson in P, just everlasting. We on that old school 1-2 shit. We on that true tip hip hop music. Just let your head nod, hands up, lose it, top back, cruising, fill it with your cruise shit. Where's my volume? Where's my volume? Where's my volume? Pumping out my boom, where's my volume? Where's my volume? Where's my volume? Don't forget my boom.
I'm the best with talk shitting. Everything that I write is so cool. All of my fingers are frostbitten. Saliva hawk spitting. Cooking heat, this the Dawn's kitchen. Look at me, I'm the top pitcher. I got wisdom. This instrumental got broken simple. My own potential with pencils is not coincidental. I spit the venom. Approach me, I'll give you multis. This shit is costly, dog. Both what we spit is sultry.
And if you salty, I can make it frosty. Half baked, I can roast you while sipping a cup of coffee. Carry a big stick and walk softly. Use it to whip fuck niggas with claims that they walk falsely. Wow, cause the verses is hurting personally. Nurses are cursing me for flipping on cases mercilessly. This ain't no rhyming for nursery. Let me tell the story, game's over. Lost in the car when the game's closer. We on that old school 1-2 shit. We on that true tip hip hop music. Just let your head nod, hands up, lose it, top back, cruise.
What up? We are back in the Clinch with DMVCS.
Yes, we are live in the building.
In the building, man. Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You know how you reach us, of course, all the time, man. Here, Lesson with Manny Z and the place to be. We want to hear from you guys about UFC 180. We're about to talk about that right now. Werdum versus Hunt. Now, this, Manny, was originally a card that was supposed to feature the then UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez against Fabricio Werdum for the heavyweight championship. But because of an injury to Cain Velasquez a few weeks ago, he was forced out of this event, and now Fabricio Werdum was now facing veteran Mark Hunt for the interim heavyweight championship. And this is took place, of course, in Mexico City, and that was the headlining bout for this bout. And it was Werdum victorious over Hunt to have the interim heavyweight championship now of the UFC after a long career that we've seen him in Strikeforce. And, of course, we noticed very notable victories over Fedor Emelianenko, over Alistair Overeem. At one point in time, Big Nog Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira.
He out jiu-jitsu'd him.
Yeah, over Roy Nelson.
Travis Brown.
Yeah, Travis Brown. I mean, we just look at this, at what he's done. Now, he lost to Alistair Overeem, but other than that, Bigfoot Silva. I mean, the guys he's lost to guys that have done some damage in their careers. But Werdum in this fight, a very back and forth fight. We'll bring up this highlight too when we get a chance. Eric, our engineer, who's of course working the boards. This was a back and forth fight. Fabricio not really looking comfortable trading with Mark Hunt, a guy who
was
has
not comfortable standing in the pocket.
No, at all. You see the knockdown there. This is in the first round, right on the button on the ear. And you see what happens here. A lot of takedowns. Mark Hunt doing some ground and pound here. But Fabricio, of course, very good on his back as always. A kick right there to the liver. And Fabricio eventually taking this fight in the second round, 2:27 into the second round, winning the interim UFC heavyweight championship. Now, this was something that we've seen a couple of times, but it was a knee to the head that eventually did in Mark Hunt. And it was the ground and pound and the TKO stoppage for the flying knee and punches, defeating Mark Hunt, moving Fabricio now to 19-5-1 in his career.
Wow.
And 2011 Strikeforce Grand Prix quarterfinal, where he lost to Alistair Overeem, winner of the submission of the year against Fedor Emelianenko, and now UFC interim heavyweight champion. A big night for him, and a guy who has had a very good career now at the top of mixed martial arts with the belt around his waist, at least for now.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was just him just putting the work in. I mean, just again, Fabricio is one of those guys that he figured out a way to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he showed the world. I mean, again, he was originally supposed to fight the champion. He took Mark Hunt on short notice. Mm-hmm. And again, he did what we saw. He didn't do the Fedor. He did the Travis Brown when people wrote him off in that fight. When he did the Big Nog, when he out jiu-jitsu'd and choked out Big Nog. Well, then again, it's not saying much because, again, it's Big Nog past his prime.
Yeah, yeah. And Mark Hunt now, the veteran Mark Hunt, now at 40 years of age, the New Zealander, the Kiwi, as they say, in his last 4 fights is now 1-2-1. Lost to JDS and UFC 160 by the spinning heel kick.
Yeah.
Drawed with Bigfoot Silva, knocked out Roy Nelson, and now that's lost to Fabricio Werdum. He may be done. We talked about this before. He's a guy that's had a number of different fights in his career. This is probably his last shot at a belt. If he decides he wants to stick around, I would suggest he wouldn't. But Fabricio just too much with the flying knee and catching him just at the right time. Looked good standing and trading for a while, but such is life. And he was not able to get the job done there. So Fabricio Werdum, your interim heavyweight champion in the UFC. Now, also on the card, Kelvin Gastelum and Jake Ellenberger. This was a welterweight bout. This fight over 4:46 into the first round. Gastelum victorious by way of submission, a rear naked choke, and we're going to bring up the highlight for that as well. Now, Gastelum, a guy 23 years old, one of the young stars, a record of 10-0 right now in mixed martial arts, and this is a guy that has made some noise. You see here, just taking a fight to Jake Ellenberger, bringing him down.
Very rare I've seen anybody do that to Jake Ellenberger.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a guy, again, submission by way of rear naked choke, getting him, and this is where, things get locked in.
Got him in
right there.
Deep.
Got it in there deep. Got it in there deep. 446. He won performance of the night, so he got a little bit of extra cash in his pocket. Of course, you see there the flag there in Mexico City. What he has done in his last few fights, 10-0, of course, a winner versus Nico Musoki in UFC Fight Night, Swanson versus Stevens, win over Rick Story. Uriah Hall along the way as well. He is a guy who took out Jake Ellenberger. Now, Ellenberger also earlier this year dropping a decision to Robbie Lawler.
But again, that's Robbie Lawler.
Dropping a decision to Robbie Lawler, and also Rory McDonald by unanimous decision. He has now lost 3 fights.
Aries.
He has lost 3 fights in a row, and that we talked about. This welterweight division is stacked.
I mean,
and the guys at the top of the division seem to be so much better than everybody else. at the bottom half of the rankings.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can go through the top 10. Every single of these guys are a viable world champion, or if not, world champion in the making.
Exactly. And the last bout the last one that we'll talk about at least here were the highlights. Ricardo Lamas taking on Dennis Bermudez. Now, Bermudez coming in here into this fight, man. He's 7-fight win streak. He was hot like grease on the fryer in July.
I have to take a step further. He was hotter than fish grease in the Fat Woman's Kitchen down in Georgia.
There we go. I can always count on you to bring it home for me.
Yes,
wins
sir.
over Clay Guida, wins over Steven Seiler, Max Holloway, Matt Grice, but really just met his match against Lamas tonight, and it was a submission by guillotine choke, 3:18 into the first round. Lamas really getting in the choke right there and ending Bermudez's fight streak. Another Mexican fighter, a Mexican fighter of Mexican descent, shining in Mexico City. Really what the UFC tried to pump for. It's a shame that Cain Velasquez couldn't have been there.
Yeah, because, he being the marquee guy.
But Lama's very impressive over a guy who had not lost a fight in 7 fights, and that's hard when you have a guy that's on a roll.
Yeah.
We see how a guy can get on a roll. We've seen with guys like Jose Aldo and like Henna Barao, and we've seen guys have streaks upon streaks upon streaks. And what happened was Lamas went ahead and took the fight to Bermudez, who was very impressive in a number of his different fights. But Lamas, 32 years old, from Chicago, and what he's done over his last few fights, went over Hacker and Diaz, lost to Jose Aldo, went over Eric Koch, went over Cub Swanson, Matt Grice, but he now stands with his record in mixed martial arts at 18-3, and that was a big win over a guy who really had asserted himself within the division at featherweight, Dennis Bermudez, and impressive. Also, other fights on this card was, if you've seen the pictures, and if you haven't, please don't look at them if you just ate something. The fight between women's bantamweight fight between Jessica Ai and Leslie Smith. There's a TKO by doctor stoppage, and if you get a chance, and you've had your lunch and you've had it settled and everything, please make sure that you do not look at this on a weak stomach. Leslie Smith's ear looked like it had been taken to the butcher shop. I mean, literally, her ear probably could have come off, and it just was not a very pretty sight. I'm hoping that she can still use that ear and hear out of that ear, but it looked pretty bad on television when you saw it.
It looked like something from Saw.
Yeah, it did. It looked exactly like something from Saw.
Yeah, I really thought that Billy the Puppet was going to come and riding around the octagon on his tricycle saying,
"Would you like to play a game?
I want to play a game."
Yeah, and I would just like, it just completely fucked me up. It was saying
X
that
marks
shit.
the spot.
It was just like, we're here dangling down here.
Exactly.
Yeah. It really did mark the spot.
That was something else, man. Something else
Shit.
right there. Yeah. And also, Gabriel Benitez defeating Humberto Brown, featherweight bout, technical submission by a standing guillotine choke, 30 seconds into the third round. Of course, and we'd be remiss if we don't talk about at least the last 2 UFC events. We were out last week. The Rockhold versus Bisping. Rockhold defeating Bisping, not getting him out in the second round. And then also the destruction of Ovince St. Preux over
Mauricio
Shogun Hua, who we think might be done now too.
You think? I mean, anytime a guy knocks you out, like we've said this before, a guy knocking you out, walking away from you.
Yeah.
Not, I'm standing in the pocket trading with him. Now I'm engaging him. I'm stepping back. He's coming at me, and Shogun was gone.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what happened last week. And OSP, after losing to Ryan Bader last month, losing in August to Ryan Bader, he is a guy that has had a fairly impressive 2014. We saw him with the submission by way of Von Flue over Nikita Krylov. We saw also his stoppage in a UFC 174, I believe it was, by technical submission by way of strikes. Is something you rarely see in mixed martial arts.
Very rarely you see.
Broke his arm with the strike.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. So that's UFC 180. We wanted to wrap that up for you guys. Of course, man, Fabricio Werdum, your interim UFC heavyweight champion here. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and recap Bellator 131, Tito versus Bonner, Stefan Bonner. Very interesting and card there as well. Very entertaining fights. We will recap with you back on DMVCS and the Clinch. Remember, you guys, you can follow us on Twitter at DMVCS. It's Lesson and Mandy Z in the place to be. We'll be right back.
Stuff, man. Yeah. Now Now when you talking about that fly life, this is what I picture. Sunshine, cruise by, Henny in the mixture. Thinking of the choices spurred on by the elixir. Rookies call me master, honeys call me mister. Riding out on sunset, pocket full of gold. Hands fumble with the perk roll, take a summer stroll. Heading out to Santa Cruz, cooling to Sublime. In the summertime, everything's fine if you don't mind. Go. Young is out in Cali, they rally, show me in death love. Hook up with the homie, not phony when we get revved up. Mommy rolling shoddy, she told me just what her friends love. Okay. Hit the homie deal, he got money, yeah man, he fresh cut. California loving the county boys when we get right. Peep the shorties jogging, they working to get that thing tight. Let me get a Red Bull and hope it gives me wings. It's about to be a long night, let's see what it brings. This is the fly life, every single day. Got a swagger in my step like I just got paid. Hey, we just ride on by, 100 blast on the dash, we just slide on by. This is the fly life, every single day. Got a swagger in my step like I just got paid. Hey, we just ride on by, 100 blast on the dash, we just slide on by. Heading out on I-10, staying fly, friend. Houston is the next stop. Ghetto boys riding, rolling by Reliant. That's the home of the Texans. Thinking of these thick chicks I'm eyeing, maybe sexing. Crewed up and they showing my crew love. UGK out the cells and they slow it and screwed up. Chillin' and chop it up on the road to the A. I-20 to 85, it's a brand new day. Lounging on P Street in the AUC. What up to my refugees from the DMV? What up? Hitting the Waffle House at 2:45. Done Woody the Doraville, then Decatur for trees. Green. Couldn't leave before we head down to the swap. Forsyth to Magic City with tip money to drop. Rain. Dirty South but it's clean from the slab to the lane. Chuck deuces to put it down, another day in the dream. Yeah, this is the fly life every single day. Got a swagger in my step like I just got paid. Hey, we just ride on by, 100 blast on the dash, we just slide on by. This is the fly life every single day. Got a swagger in my step like I just got paid. Hey, we just ride on by, 100 blast on the dash, we just slide on by. Flying out from Moco, down to SoFlo, Juve with the massive Heineken and SoCo. I got my flag with me here, red, green, and gold. Wave your rag when you see us coming down the road. Behind the truck, out the corner of my eye, see a honey with a fatty hair nestled with the tie. Damn, she half Chinese, half Guyanese, with the brown skin Trini and the Bayesian Pisces. Soaked off this liquor and sweating my white tee. She wine with the waist that's moving so nicely. Chicky eyes and tan, I'm talking about wifey, but I have to keep it moving like Kyrie and Nike. Let's move. End of the day, but it's just getting started. About to get this party, popped up with the card in. Let the soca blast with some reggae in the mix. More fire, Gordon shot while these gals give me licks.
What's up? This is DMVCS in the Clinch. You know what I'm saying? It is blessing and a place to be. My man Manny Z to my right. Here, of course, every Sunday night, each and every Sunday night here on WLVS, ListenVisionLive.com. Every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We just wrapped up UFC 180 Werdum versus Hunt. And we're going to talk now about Bellator 131. This is the finale for Bellator for this year, Manny.
I'm still trying to get over that. A finale in November?
Well, we know the Bellator went through a huge overhaul when Bjorn, when Bjorn Rebney was fired as CEO from Bellator.
We have proud Americans that get fired. Bjorn Rebney got Craig.
Yeah, he got Craig.
He was moving boxes.
Well, he got Craig, and on board came Scott Coker, former CEO of Strikeforce. And they've revamped the event schedule, but nonetheless, it is their finale for Bellator MMA, and a very entertaining card, I will say, due to the action that we saw. Of course, the headlining bout for that bout was the big Bellator acquisition, and this says something about Bellator, I guess. Light heavyweight bout between Tito Ortiz and Stefan Bonner. These guys had a lot of words leading up to this bout. This was personal, to say the least, between the two of them.
Yeah, because Stefan Bonner was let out of his UFC contract for retirement, being put in the Hall of Fame, to basically, quote-unquote, kick Tito Ortiz's ass on behalf of Dana White.
Yeah, so this is what happened, and we'll bring up the highlights for this. This is what the light heavyweight bout. This was a close fight, regardless of what you see here in the highlights. It was a split decision. I'm kind of puzzled about this, because from what I think, Tito dominated this fight. He did win. Tito did.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been a split decision.
Yeah, by split decision. But this was a fight between Tito and Stefan Bonner. A lot of talk between these guys. Tito using his wrestling early on, taking down Bonner at will here. So you see what happened here. Then, of course,
because you see him standing right there trying to strike. It's like your next door neighbor's dad just standing out there. Come on, give me what you got. Come on. Come on.
Yeah.
I still got one in me.
Yeah, and then so here, Tito just tagging him. And then the decision you see here, and this is one of the most disrespectful things coming up I've seen anybody do. I mean, this
fuck
is what,
you.
Yeah,
That's why.
and then give him the finger, not just the finger, but the double fingers. He gave him the double birdie. Okay, the double birdie. I guess you can call that an eagle.
Yeah, I think it is. But I mean,
eagle,
the fact,
that's an eagle in golf.
But the fact he waited till after they announced the decision, just like, yeah, my water and
yeah,
fuck you. That's
exactly. But Tito now 2-0 in his Bellator career. After moving over, and has said everything in the world against his former employer UFC. Him and Dana are not friends. They will not be sending holiday cards to each other at all.
Hell no. And mind you, this is a guy that helped Dana build the UFC.
Of course.
And he still hates him.
He still hates him.
I mean, again, not rap beef listeners. Like, they literally, do not catch these guys in a parking lot.
Right. Now, so Tito is and now Stephan Bonnar, where do you go from here after being let out of your UFC
you go back
contract?
into retirement. I mean, he should have been retired 10 fights ago. I mean, again, I always been on the record saying this. I don't disrespect people, just disrespect people, especially in public forums. But I was never impressed with Stephan Bonnar, even when he was on The Ultimate Fighter the first season. I wasn't impressed with him as a career. I mean, name something relatively winning regard that Stephan Bonnar has done. Don't worry, I'll wait.
Right. Now Tito's first win in Bellator was over Alexander Shlemenko.
I mean, can you count that as a win? That was more like put the slaughter.
Yeah. So, and that was after he had a very bad streak to end his UFC career. But nonetheless, Tito victorious. And not only that, not only did he win the fight, but he won in life, man. This guy got a $300,000 paycheck for this fight, man. Yeah. And the payroll total was $600K.
Yeah, and he got a cut of that.
He got half the purse, man.
Tax
he walked
free.
away with half the purse.
Tax free, because you went right to the casino, just like all those fighters do. Yeah, I want to cash this, please. This big gaping check.
It's crazy.
Get cashed out, and he's good.
Also on the card, the interim lightweight champion, Will Brooks, who defeated Michael Chandler earlier this year. They also fought. We'll bring up the highlights for that one as well. This was a rematch. This was touted as Brooks-Chandler 2. Now, originally, Will Brooks was supposed to fight Eddie Alvarez, who has now jumped to the UFC.
Yeah.
But this is the rematch between them. Michael Chandler, he beat Michael Chandler in a split decision in Bellator 120. This was a bit of a different fight, of course, and over 3 rounds, you see the Will Brooks really just great striking, really defending well, and what you see here is the fight being ended TKO and punches, and Will Brooks retaining the title now.
Well, I mean, he was out on his feet.
Yeah, he was
anytime a guy gets up and does that.
Yeah,
he's out.
Interim champ, and Will Brooks is there now after he was supposed to fight Eddie Alvarez. Taking a little bit of time facing Chandler again. Now, Chandler was also scheduled to face Alvarez. There was an injury in the fight there that postponed that fight, which was supposed to be their trilogy actually. Now he lost to Eddie Alvarez at Bellator 106 and was supposed to fight him. Will Brooks took that fight on Bellator 120 on short notice and won.
But Eddie, Dana backed up the double Brinks trucks
and said, "Come on, let's go.
Let's go, jump to the big league, son."
Yeah,
and he did
exactly.
I can't fault Eddie Alvarez for that.
Exactly. So now we will also jump. We will jump to on the Bellator 131 card. Joe Schilling versus Melvin Manhoff, and 2 kickboxers and guys that we've seen. 2 kickboxers in Schilling and Manhoff. This was a fight that was back and forth for a good part of it, as we saw here, and we'll bring up the highlights for Schilling and Manhoff. It was Schilling with the KO by punch, and literally when we punch, it was a KO by a punch here against Manhoff. See here, Manhoff getting a
Melvin was controlling it right from the beginning.
Yeah, from the beginning.
Textbook Manhoff, just bull rush.
Yeah.
Hammer fists, a lot of wild man swinging haymakers.
Yeah, and then what we see here that Schilling comes back, and then here comes the knockout right there. Boom.
Gave him the Holy Ghost.
And we'll see it here, right here, boom, right there, like the left cross is what did it. And Schilling, of course, the knockout by a punch, 32 seconds into the second round. There, Joe Schilling. Also at a catch weight of 143, it was Mike Richmond taking on Nam Phan. And this was pretty much a rout as well.
Oh, well, I mean, because I was like, Nam Phan still fights?
Yeah, 46 seconds seconds into the first round. This was over pretty quickly. Richmond just completely devastating this guy. Just punches up against the cage, beating him up. And, this fight being fought at a catch weight, and that's right, it was over. as quickly as it started, 46 seconds into the first round.
He made him Dougie up against the cage, bless him.
Made him Dougie.
He did.
Made him Dougie. That's a good one.
Yeah, he did.
And then also the last fight, or the fight here on the main card, was King Mo, Muhammad Lawal, taking on Joe Videpo. He won by TKO and punches over the third round. He really dominated this fight as well. Now, King Mo, of course, has had a very interesting 2014, but ending his year on a high note by defeating Joe Videpo, just beating him up with TKOs and punches, and King Mo able to get the victory, of course, 39 seconds into the third round. And we'll see the finish here on a ground and pound, ref jumping in to stop the fight here. I mean, this is pretty much it.
He had to save his life.
You got to save this guy's life. And then check out the celebration by King Mo coming up here, doing the freestyle in the ring. The freestyle in the ring by King Mo.
Did he really
Ever the character always. He did do that.
Just like, what? Really, King Mo? Just like, if it's not his crown, it's his antics.
Yeah.
It's just,
and he is the character, man. We saw what happened at Bellator 120 between him and Rampage when he lost. When he told Bjorn Remney, you can cut me, I don't give a fuck. So what? You a
dick rider.
Dick riding ass. So that's King Mo, ladies and gentlemen. That's Bellator for the year. Hopefully Scott Coker can turn this and bring Bellator to the next level next year. They have the Spike TV deal. Everyone knows that's where UFC gained its big popularity among mainstream America. So we'll see what they can do next year.
Yeah. Of
course. So we're going to wrap up Bellator 131. When we come back, we're going to close out the show. Jam-packed weekend, and we're going to close it out with World Series of Fighting 15, and we're going to talk about some big matches on those cards and just close that out. World Series of Fighting, a couple of fighters that we like here. So we're going to talk about that. Of course, man, this is DMVCS in the Clinch. Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter at DMVCS, Instagram, DMVCS, the number 2, and then also DMVCS Radio on Facebook. Make sure you're following us on Google Plus and YouTube, DMV Combat Systems. This is Brian. This is Lesson. Manny Z in the place to be. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
Yeah. It's lesson. And we ride. That's what we gonna do. We gonna open the door. Keys in the ignition. And we gon' see on recline while there's money on my mind. Just glide. Hear a dope track, please press rewind. Just glide. Get it in, cause I'm running out of time. Just glide. Future pride and I think I'm going blind. Just glide. For a minute, just glide. Till the finish, just glide. Till you win it, just glide. Sit and politic, how the world goes round. Does it spin, does it glide, does it make another sound? Just one hit, 2 hit, put the L down. There is money to be made, pay it back, James Brown. Feel it in my soul like today is today, cause tomorrow never promised, go away to display. So I grab another, fit it up, polo just press white, horse chest lit it up, logo just fresh, yes. In the ride just cruising, fooling, stereo on show while these numbers keep moving. Sound up the music just soothing, oozing, funk in the trunk while the homies stay coolin'. Take us to the main event, now we all here, and it's perfect for the score. Think I'll have another beer. Here. Let's toast with the champagne glass. Game for a day, blow it up the moment, change class. Seat on recline while there's money on my mind. Just glide. Hear a dope track, please press rewind. Just glide. Get it in, cause I'm running out of time. Just glide. Future pride and I think I'm going blind. Just glide. For a minute, just glide. Till the finish, just glide. Till you win it, just glide. Picking up where I left off, beats in the lab, headphones in the jack while I take another drag. I can take it to the West Coast where they ride slabs. I can take it to the dirty South, 808 blast. Take it to the Midwest, hustle getting cash. Up north till it's New York to try to catch a cab. Back in the free state, hoping you can relate. Get into this guap like it's factory and cheesecakes. But please wait, won't you let me take you home to the pretty girls and gangsters? We call it Terror Zone. Into your sense like you smell a pheromone. No snapback, spit it up, new era. Let me take a minute, just breathe. I can kick it, homie, what you need. 3-4's the court like Grant in 92. Run towns when we touch down, now tell me what it do. See on my climb while there's money on my mind. Just glide. Hear a dope track, please press rewind. Just glide. Get it in, cause I'm running out of time. Just glide. Future pride and I think I'm going blind. Just glide. For a minute, just glide.
What up? You are back in the Clinch with DMVCS. DMV Combat Systems, Lesson and Manny Z here. Last segment, man, of course, was the jam-packed weekend. This is the first time that the 3 major martial arts promotions, Manny, I don't know if you knew this, aired on the very same night, their promotions events. with UFC 180 and Bellator 131. World Series of Fighting 15 also aired on Saturday night as well, making it a jam-packed event. And the reason why we've been able to give you nothing but fight results and recaps here. And now what we had here was World Series of Fighting 15 billed as David Branch versus Yushin Okami. Now Yushin Okami, the former UFC fighter, UFC and also Bushido fighter. A lot of different other promotions as well that he's been around. He's been around for a very long time. He's a 38 professional fights before this fight. He won his World Series of Fighting debut at WSOF 9 by defeating Svetslav Slavov by arm triangle choke. That was March 29th earlier this year. Now he faced David Branch for the WSOF middleweight championship last night at WSOF, now 15, which took place in the USF Sun Dome in Tampa, Florida, and aired on NBCSN as the deal that they have with them. Now, David Branch, the middleweight champion, taking on Yushin Okami, beating him up TKO by punches in the fourth round, 339 to the fourth round, retaining the middleweight championship. So Yushin Okami now 1-1 in his World Series of Fighting World Series of Fighting career after leaving the UFC after a number of different fights.
No, we already know the main reason why he left the UFC. It was a guy from Brazil by the name of Anderson Silva.
Oh, of course, who exacted revenge on him for the one loss that he had.
Well, it wasn't so much he exacted revenge. He just kept talking about it because I have that one win. He said, okay, you have that one win, show me.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Anytime a guy puts his hands down and says, hit me, and you're scared to do it, the fight's over.
Speaking of former UFC fighters, there was also the co-main event on this bout, was the supposed to be a lightweight championship bout between Justin Gaethje, a guy who we've talked about on this show a number of different times this year.
Yes, we have.
One of the young stars in mixed martial arts, taking on former UFC fighter Melvin Gillard. Now, this was supposed to have been a lightweight championship bout, but Gillard failed to make weight, and somehow I am not surprised by that.
I'm not surprised either because this guy done been to camp.
He failed to make weight, so the fight was fought at a catch weight of 158.8 pounds. Now, he won his World Series of Fighting debut, Gillard did, against Gaethje's Cavalcante with TKO on World Series of Fighting 11. That was the other event that we had on July the 5th, which aired the same night as UFC 175. Now, Gaethje defeated Melvin Gillard by split decision, 28-29, 29-28, 30-27. Gaethje had talked a lot of trash, saying that Gillard couldn't take an ass whooping for 3 rounds. And he did, surprisingly, because we saw the Melvin Gillard that was at the end of his UFC career, and he was a guy that was less than impressive.
Very less than impressive. I mean, because his last fight, he was running around the cage. Now,
Gaethje is a kid that I've rung the bell for, 13-0 in his MMA career. He's a guy, along with Miles Jury, that I think are two of the brightest stars in mixed martial arts today.
Oh, period.
We'll talk about that later on in the year when we do our yearly wrap-up later on this year about the best fights and the best fighters this year.
His destruction of Nick Newell, he opened my eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And also on the World Series of Fighting card, Jessica Aguilar, the women's strawweight champion, defeating Kalendria Faria by unanimous decision, 49-45 across the board. That was a 5-round fight. So a card for the WSOF that I think has been the launching pad for a lot of guys to get back in in the major promotions, Bellator and UFC. We saw Anthony Rumble Johnson go there and come back. Andre Arlovsky did it as well. So, we keep an eye on WSOF, folks. I mean, these are guys that people may think are nobodies, but these are the future stars that we see here, and guys that can make a rebound and make something of their career. So,
we saw when Josh Berkman, inadvertently choked unconscious. John Fitch.
Yep.
Damn near was killing him because you had
Josh
Steve
Berkman
Mozgatti standing over the corner thinking about his grocery list.
Exactly. So that's going to do it for us tonight, folks. Of course, we enjoy bringing this to you, man, each and every Sunday night. DMVCS in the Clinch. Les and Manny Z in the place to be. Next week, we're going to be talking about UFC Fight Night. Cub Swanson versus Frankie Edgar next week.
Wow.
And we're going to talk about that, man. Of course, Cub Swanson, a guy that is on a roll as well. So we're going to talk about that fight. We look forward to bringing that to you next week. Until next week, it's Les and Manny Z in the place to be. It's DMVCS in the Clinch. We'll be out.
Peace.
See you then.
This game, your time. Is it now? Inside. saying this game for the crown. Is it now? Stakes high, put it down, put it down. This game, your time, put it down, let's go. Welcome to the game, now here's your starting lineup. Brought to you by E-Dub, official with the sign up. Having 40 minutes pressure, Arkansas to Pine Bluff. Little Rocks with gangs bang until they fucking time's up. Fire like it's pre-game pyro. Ready off this hype and I'm high off hydro. Once the clock starts, then it's on to the minute. Ballin' like LeBron off the palm till I'm finished in it. Until the last second is spent. And I'ma play the point till you niggas forfeit to quit or offer to split. Critics talking shit like it's heads up and man down. I'm at the 50 with chin strapped to stand ground. Game time on my pulse, racing like stock cars. 200 laps and I'm checking flag like a rock star. And give a damn what your thoughts are. W's counting them out, checking the bank like Bart Star. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it cranking hard till the break of dawn. Break it dawn, break it dawn, break it till the break of dawn. Count slow, stakes high till the break of dawn. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it cranking hard till the break of dawn. Break it dawn, break it dawn, break it till the break of dawn. Count slow, stakes high till the break of dawn. You hear the clap, get a round of applause. Fools shouting out their name to hear the sound of their cars. You ain't making any calls on the yard. The only cause you had is to press pause and make a call to your squad. I ain't never been at grips with the law. The only grip that I had is my 5 fingers, that's my fist to your jaw. Me and Dale's take a trip from the bricks to the shore. Flip the switch, click the sticks, I get lifted for sure. Only want what we came for. Rolling through PG with Dale for the main course. So we take DC in the loop with the same force. Find us live at the barbecue like we main source. Insane boss, I'm talking riches in the millions. Stack it to the ceiling in the office, right in our own building. Stakes high, what's the call? Mission critical condition. The miss niggas with napalm. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it cranking hard till the break of dawn. Break it dawn, break it dawn, break it till the break of dawn. Count slow, stakes high till the break of dawn. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it cranking hard till the break of dawn. Break it dawn, break it dawn, break it till the break of dawn. Count slow, stakes high till the break of dawn. But when the pressure's on, the clock's running down. You gonna take a shot or act like a clown. Probably the ladder you crumble under the crown. Don't give me dap a pound unless you holding it down. 200 laps and I'm checking flag like a rock star. And give a damn what your thoughts are. W's counting them out, checking the bank like Bart Star. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it cranking hard till the break of dawn. Break it dawn, break it dawn, break it till the break of dawn. Count slow, stakes high till the break of dawn. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it cranking hard till the break of dawn. Break it dawn, break it dawn, break it till the break of dawn. Count slow, stakes high till the break of dawn.